Bunny, and he's in the Pittsburgh area. And he's going to share a little bit with us. So, take me all the way back to when you were 9 years old.
Okay. All
All
right.
right. And share
So
with us.
yeah, so 9 years old, right? I had a lot of friends that could draw, and I wasn't great at drawing, but I liked designing. So big into NBA at that time. And one of the things that I really enjoyed was like uniform design and team design and things like that. So I would just kind of draw out tank tops and shorts and design them for NBA teams, color them, kind of figure out where the team logo is going to go and the numbers. And sometimes I would even get into the shoes because I was big into basketball shoes and stuff at that time too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's kind of how everything started. And then as I got
Okay.
older, it transitioned
Hmm.
into my doodling becoming learning how to doodle famous logos. I
Okay.
was big into professional wrestling at that time too. So each wrestler kind of had their own logo, and
Hmm.
when I would doodle, that's what I drew, and that really started to transition into my love for logo design.
Okay. All right. Cool. 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 So, um, you have this agency called,
Yes, Egghead Creative.
yes, I like to give you the drum roll.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
And you described yourself as operating differently and you're a bespoke team. So define those two things for us.
Sure. So we officially launched in January, which ended up coming with some extra road bumps. The idea was I didn't want to limit myself to just the designers and talent in the area or try to convince somebody from somewhere else to come and work in Pittsburgh, move here, their family, whatever. So before everything started, I kind of thought, well, let me put this remote agency together. And what it allowed me to do was now I can work with the best talent in the country rather in the area. And so what I ended up doing with that was I was following people on Instagram. I was reaching out on Dribble, things like that, and I was finding creatives that may like to work with us either on a part-time or a contract basis.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's kind of how we're going about it our first year. Um, Not having full-time staff just yet. It's in the plans for the future, but this is kind of the business model to start. And what that allows us to do is within each category of the creative fields. So let's take graphic design, for example. What I wanted to do was avoid what I hated as a freelancer. And what I hated as a freelancer was not being able to put my best work out there because I was working on something that I wasn't comfortable with.
Mm.
My background, the things that I enjoyed, the things that I think that I'm the best at would be logo design, branding, those kind of things. If you ask me to do an infographic, it's not going to be great, And so I didn't want to put any of my creative team in that position. So what I can do now is within our graphic design kind of area here, I have three graphic designers, each with their own specific style. And so, depending on the client, I can assign the specific graphic designer that I think would be best for that client and that project, rather than just saying, this is my graphic designer or this is my graphic design team, you're going to work with them. Now I can put that team together. The same with copywriters. I have copywriters that span everything from like product releases and kind of the informational stuff that you see with products online. I have creative copywriters, things like that. So depending on the project, I pick and choose the team that I want to work on it. That's where the bespoke team comes in.
Okay. And I think that's very smart because only us inside the industry know that a graphic designer is not a graphic designer is not a graphic designer.
Right.
Um, because I had an interview with a gentleman who said he's a graphic designer, but his boss came to him and said, "So we have this marketing video that we need you to put together." He was like,
Yeah.
uh, you know, so
Yes.
it's always a bit of an education involved in that.
Yes.
So I think that's smart, and it helps bring greater value to your clients as well.
Yeah, yeah, and I actually had a client the other day, speaking of kind of the learning process, um, where we were kind of going over some things, and we had sent him a like a mock-up of what we wanted to do. And he told me there's like a whole science behind picking the right typefaces and colors. And I said, well, yeah, there's emotions behind it. There's, a lot of people don't know that. They think it's just, oh, they picked that font because they liked it or something like
Right.
that. There's always a process behind it. And it's a little more scientific than just being creative, especially when you're
Mhm.
creating a brand.
Yeah, because when I used to work at jobs in corporate, I used to tell people it's not shift F2. That is not how this happens.
Right.
I'm gonna have to have a conversation with you. I need to dig deeper. There's going to
Yes.
be a Q&A involved,
Yes.
so we
Yeah.
can, because I want to hit the target.
Yes.
If you answer these questions now, you won't be frustrated with me later.
Right. And
You
also,
know?
if when people were looking for logos, a lot of times it's like, well, I can go get a nice looking logo from somebody else way cheaper,
Hmm.
which is correct. But the problem with that is the research behind it typically isn't there. So you may end up with this beautiful logo and it may completely miss the mark and not work at all. Whereas if you would have just taken the time to sit down with the designer or somebody who is willing to do the research, which is a huge part of our process. If you were just willing to sit down with them, you could have knocked it out on the first try. Maybe you end up spending a little bit more money, but it's going to pay off in the end. And I think that, with places like Fiverr and things like that, where you can get these really, really cheap logos, I think that it kind of devalues our industry
Yeah.
because that's what people come to expect. I can go get it
Hmm.
for $10 from this guy. Why would I pay you
Yeah.
something else?
And I also tell them, and you're gonna get it in Photoshop. And a real
Yeah.
logo designer is not gonna design you a logo in Photoshop.
Right. Yep. Yep. Or Canva or any of those other things that are out there that they
Yeah.
have uses. But if you're coming up with a brand and you need these kind of files for this kind of work, and
Hmm.
you might only get an image from
Hmm.
the designer, and when in
Yeah.
reality you need something for print, you need something for digital, you need
Hmm.
something that can scale, all of that. And
Yeah.
so when somebody decides to create a brand, they're investing in themselves, they're investing in something
Hmm.
they believe in. And when you approach it like that, it's like, well, maybe I am worth a little bit more. Maybe my business is worth spending that extra money to have a designer or an agency really, really work with me, not only to just come up with a creative design, but also to help me answer some of the questions about target markets and audiences and things like that that the business owner might not have thought of.
Well, even in week 2 of my coaching program, where I'm working with creative people to help them, the second week is about you understanding your worth.
Yes.
And we struggle with that.
Yes.
We struggle with that. And once they grab that by the horns and they take it, then everything else I show them and guide them through is a breeze. But
Yes.
until you believe that you are worth what you're bringing, and today's, I call them dream client, can tell if you've invested in yourself. Because I
Yes.
don't spend money with people who don't invest in themselves.
Right.
If I see that you take a lot of shortcuts, I I wish you well, but you're not
Yes.
going to get my money, you know?
Yes.
And when you have that type of client, you're not constantly searching for clients
Right.
because
Yes.
they're
It's tough to
paying you
say
your
no.
worth. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Well,
tough to
not
say
for
no
me
to a project.
anymore. Not for me
Right. Yeah.
anymore.
You have to get to that point, but when you're
You
first
have to
starting
get
out,
to,
you want
yes,
money. And so it's
exactly.
tough to say, well, I'm worth way more than this $100 logo that somebody wants me to do for them. but I need the money, so I'm going to take it. And you just gave away maybe a couple hundred, a couple $1,000 because
Mhm.
you said yes to a client that really wasn't the type of client you're looking for.
But that client will keep coming back. And so you'll
Yes.
keep short changing yourself.
Yes.
And in the long run, what you thought was one project that you took for $100 actually cost you probably 10 times that.
Right.
Because they're
Yes.
going to keep coming back because you do excellent work,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me this. What was your favorite project in 2019? And you were a teacher
Yeah.
then, so you might have been doodling or whatever, but what comes to mind?
So I did a lot of work with I was when I was freelancing, I ended up becoming the lead designer with a company called Athletes Brand. And
Okay.
it's been by far my favorite work because it mixes my love of design with my love of sports. And I got to work with
Mhm.
some pro athletes and their charities and some wonderful causes, and that really kind of set me up for kind of figuring out my target audience with Egghead.
Mhm.
We wanted to continue to work with the athletes, the sports teams, and I mean we can stretch it to anything in sports, even a sports themed bar. I mean, but being able to mix my love of sports and then also my passion for design, that makes everything so much easier. It makes it more fun. It makes you want to do better work because you really really enjoy it. And so that I think just working with them, I worked for them for a few years, but I was their lead designer for about a year. That's probably been my favorite work in the past.
Okay, cool. And what has been your most unusual project?
That's a tough one. Um, Man, okay. This one was really fun. It
Okay.
was also with Athletes Brand, but I actually helped design a glove, and the glove just
What?
came out. So the guy behind Athletes Brand, his name is Kyle Mock, and I guess the story behind the glove was when he was younger, he kind of dreamed up this glove, and it looked like a waffle cone, and the top of the glove was ice cream, and yeah. So
Oh,
I finally got to see it produced. Like I
uh-huh.
had the design on the computer. We did mock-ups, but to see it come out and be produced, it's just something that I never thought I would work on. And
Uh-huh.
it's been, people are buying it, and it's awesome. He's delivered it to some athletes in the major leagues, and it's a really cool project. And I was really really happy to be a part of that.
Did you get one?
I did not. I might have to try and work my way
Yeah,
into one, but
smooth him over because that would be something neat to put in a case
yes, absolutely.
to
Yeah,
just have as a keepsake, you know.
it would be awesome. Yeah, I'll have to give
Yeah.
Kyle a call.
Yes. Just it's Christmas season. Aren't you in the
Yeah.
giving
Oh, there you
spirit?
go. Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Yeah. So, all right, let's shift gears a little bit. Um, for someone who is thinking about creating an agency of their own,
Yes.
what advice would you give them?
Um, I would give them the advice of take some business classes because
Mm,
when you're freelancing, you're just looking out for yourself, right? Your
mhm,
business practices or whatever they are, and you can change them whenever you want. When you're creating an agency, you have to have everything in line so that, if I hire an assistant, they can take all of my stuff and apply it to everything. And when we work with our clients, they're expecting the same process every time. And the creatives need to be able to understand the process for each of the projects so that they can continue to deliver that way. And when I first came up with the idea for an agency, that was the first thing that I did. I took some business classes, and it really opened my eyes to a lot of the things that I didn't realize I needed when starting
Mhm.
an agency. When the idea came, it was just like, oh yeah, this would be awesome. I want to be able to, come up with the ideas, pass them off to people who are more creative, better artistically than I am. We're going to create some great stuff. But then there's all the behind the scenes stuff that
Mhm.
doesn't, come out in the open. And if you don't have that business side of things set up, you have nothing. So
Right.
the artist, the talent, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, if you don't have your business practices set up, it's going to be a strain on you, on your business, on the
Mhm.
clients, on the people that work for you, and then it's just going to fall apart. It's not going to work. So my advice to anybody in any kind of field, when you're looking to start your business, you need to take classes on business. And a lot of people were like, well, I don't have a lot of money to do that. You got to just bite the bullet. You have to do it. It'll pay off in the end. But it's just one of those things that you need to do when you're starting a business.
Yeah, I agree. And again, that's in the coaching program. And people are like,
Right.
oh my God, I didn't know I needed to do this. And I didn't know that having this certification would be of value to me. You
Right.
know, it's just having someone to tell you, here's your checklist.
Yes. Yes. Somebody who knows what they're doing. Tell me what I need to do, and I will get it done. That's
And
what I needed mostly.
yeah, and even the smart aspect about knowing who to partner with. Your partners are other designers, and knowing about yourself and where those strengths and weaknesses lie, and knowing who to partner with to make
Yes.
this a solid bespoke team,
Yes.
that takes not only skill, but it takes knowledge as well. And that's not
Yes.
something we're taught.
No. And another thing that helped me a lot was, my sister is a copywriter, and she's worked with several agencies. So she has kind of that inside information. Some of the things that, even if you put your business plan together and have this really great idea, there's still some kind of cultural things and some kind
Hmm.
of procedural things that happen within this specific industry.
Hmm.
You can take business classes for any kind of business, but if you want to create a creative business, you need information from people who have done it. And so
Yes,
she's been a big help in helping me get everything started, helping me. I did the business side of things myself with somebody else and a class and whatever else. I was mostly self-taught as a designer.
hmm,
So I could handle all of those things on my own. I needed somebody who was able to give me the inside information on what really, really makes it a successful agency.
exactly. I totally agree. Totally agree. So, last thing, we got to get in touch with you other than in the
Sure.
group. So,
Yes,
give us your website.
sure. Our website is eggheadcreativestudio.com.
Okay.
Um, we go by Egghead Creative, but we use the studio for website and social media purposes. Because
Okay.
believe it or not, there are a few other eggheads out there, which is I thought,
Ah,
it's tough coming up with a name for a business that's not already
yeah.
taken. So
Yeah.
we did have to throw that in there. So they can find us at eggheadcreativestudio.com. We're on Instagram. If you search Egghead Creative Studio, LinkedIn, Facebook, try to be as many places as possible.
Cool. Cool. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me on. This was
It
fun.
was so easy talking to you. We could just go on for an hour, I know,
I
but
agree. Yeah.
nobody's going to watch us that long.
Yes. Yeah. Nobody wants to hear us that long. Their attention spans are like this big right now. So
All right. Well, have a good one. All right.
thank you. Thank
All
you.
right. Bye bye.
All right. Bye.